So will Bitcoin become $1 million or $10,000 or even low as $5,000 today? We debunk the mystery. And of course, if you haven't done so, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so that you can stay updated on how Bitcoin will end up. But more importantly, so that you make the right decisions. Let's jump right into the video. Bitcoin price prediction. Can Bitcoin reach $1 million by 2025? That is crazy, guys. According to today's prices, if you were to invest in Bitcoin, let's say $1,000, you're looking at about that becoming $40,000 within 2 years. In 2 years, your $1,000 is going to become $40,000. That is massive. So let's dig into it. What this article is by Forbes Advisor. Full credits to the writer. Let's go through this. The largest cryptocurrency of the world, Bitcoin, has lost nearly 65% of its market value in the entire year of 2022. Now, has your property lost 65%? Has your stocks lost 65%? No. This year, Bitcoin has been kind of crap. Kind of really crap. And we can see that because since 2020, as you can see on the graph, to where we are now, it's about 71% down. Okay. So literally since 2022 to the very bottom of the market, it has gone down 71 whopping percentage points. So everyone's sort of going, oh, that's a bit crazy. You know, what actually happened? We look at Terra Luna crash, fallout of the largest crypto exchange, FTX, and the looming macroeconomic conditions. This is obviously leading towards all your inflation and obviously your interest rate data. Okay. So we're going to actually look at, okay, is it going to ever go back to its previous highs or beat its previous highs? Well, if we actually look at Bitcoin for the entirety of its, I guess, existence, we can actually see that it likes to beat its previous highs. You know, just looking at this graph, this is a logarithmic charts, but as you can see, its previous highs, everyone thought, wow, $1,000 for a Bitcoin, that was way too expensive. And then bang, it beats that by another 18 times that. And then it beats that by 3 times that, right? So it does like to go to its previous highs, which is quite crazy. And if we look at, for example, the rainbow charts, we can see that the Bitcoin since its existence has always been going up. It's on a massive uptrend. Okay, then. So from what we can see on a long-term sense, it does seem to think that it goes up and up and up and up. But is that enough for us to throw our cash and just be okay with it? Okay. So let's have a look. Will Bitcoin first of all rise again in 2023? Well, we're sitting at 28,000 levels. The global cryptocurrency market capitalization is trading around 1.16 trillion. All right, that's every cryptocurrency out there, including all the shit coins, of course. And we are looking at, for example, comparing that with the S&P 500 market cap. It is 34.465 trillion. So it is about 34 times smaller the size of the stock market, okay, if you like. So it has a lot of room for growth if it was to be given the uptake the stock market will. Now, will it get as big as that? Maybe, maybe not. But it can become somewhat comparable, but not 30 times less. I think there is definitely more upside to Bitcoin in that sense. Its dominance right now is continuously rising. BTC dominance is at 9 months high, above 45% for the first time since June 2022. What does that mean? Bitcoin dominance. Okay, we're actually seeing that out of the entire cryptocurrency market, how much of that is Bitcoin? Well, we're sitting at 47% right now. And the rise that article is talking about is this rise here, this rise right here. But as you can see, there's this massive resistance on that 47% mark. And so what we're going to expect is that it's going to bounce off of that and it's going to go back to its support, which is around this level here, which is the 40% mark. And when that happens, when the dominance of Bitcoin reduces, then you can be, the indication there is that all the altcoins are going to become very, very strong. And effectively, you're going to be, that is going to come through, and that is going to be expected over time as cryptocurrency market become a little bit more, I guess, widespread than just it being about Bitcoin. So that's another encouraging sign. So it has been increasing, but I think there is a big resistance. So I think at this point, in the short term, I think Bitcoin will reduce as well. But but time will tell, of course. So they expect that Cardano, Polkadot, Avalanche, Litecoin, they're the ones that are going to be coming up soon. So just a week before the world's largest cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, plunged under the levels of $20,000. This week, we saw technology-focused Silicon Valley Bank fallout, spiraling the US banking system into a frenzy. Now, I'm more inclined to believe that it is around the technicals that we see events unfold, and usually the events are the scapegoats to why price actions have been formed. So I do believe that the technicals actually lead the fundamentals, especially for a speculative asset like Bitcoin. Now, but people are bullish on it, okay? So why are people bullish on Bitcoin, okay? This is a full breakdown. So one of the reasons why experts are bullish on Bitcoin is that next year, 2024, is a year for Bitcoin's halving event. Now, halving events are very, very, very important, okay? The Bitcoin halving event happens every 4 years, and in which Bitcoin rewards to its miners are cut in half. So miners' payout will be reduced to 3.125 Bitcoin. This event is generally viewed as a positive for Bitcoin's price, as halving helps in contracting supply, okay, reducing the supply of things. Historically, halving has been seen as a very good sign for bringing momentum in Bitcoin's price. You know what? I'll let you do your own decision on that. I'm going to show you a graph, and we're going to see every time that there has been a halving, what has actually happened to the price. Well, the black line is the price itself, and don't worry about the rainbow for now. But every time there's a halving, actually, in fact, the price actually seems to reduce around the halving a little bit as well. But around that halving, Bitcoin prices have gone up very significantly. The same thing has happened when, in the bull cycle of, I think this is in the 2020. All right, so we're actually approaching the halving in 2024, which is in March, and that is merely 1 year away. So could that be the time to buy Bitcoin? Well, a lot of experts do seem to think so. Okay, so there's a little table here, and on these halvings, these were Bitcoin prices, and price 150 days later were a whopping 10x. This actually was the same, but this one's also the same as well. But why only look at 150 days later? We got to look at the potential that it can bring, right? Because we have seen that time and time again, halving actually does bring about a massive bull cycle to the Bitcoin market. And it is at this point that if you found anything I said helpful, that you subscribe, because this is the knowledge house. This is the place to get it all. Okay, let's keep going. We all know that Bitcoin has rallied more than 80% since the start of this year. Would you believe that? Among all this recession talk and all this craziness going on, yes, we have gone up a whopping 80% since the beginning of this year. Okay, so I'm just going to go from the low to the high right now. That's 97%. So people who invested in the very, very bottom, they've actually done really well. So we're looking obviously 2023 onwards, and that's still 80%, we're looking at right now. Although recently we did go through a bit of a correction, as you can see. So how can we say that Bitcoin is a bad investment? Especially, and do you know what the smell in the air was about Bitcoin when Bitcoin was riding the low of the lows around the 17, and it went as low as $15,000. Everyone thought Bitcoin was over. But you invest when there's fear in the market, okay? Don't invest when there is euphoria in the market. Invest when there's fear in the market. And you know what? I genuinely think that it is such a... This graph here actually says it all, but it has surely outpaced several major assets, given tremendous returns to those who have bought BTC at it. Warren Buffett and all these guys, look, they have their own methods, right? There might be, real estate investors out there that are killing it as well. I get it. But seriously, pick out an asset from the beginning of this year that has done more than 80% in growth within 4 months of the beginning of this year. In this recession, there aren't too many that has done that. Okay, and so if we look at Bitcoin, and so if we look at the Bitcoin rainbow chart, it is quite obvious that, okay, the way they actually draw out this chart up here, right? So I'm gonna zoom in so y'all can see a little bit better, right? So maximum bubble territory, right? Every time it went near the maximum bubble territory, I mean, it cannot be more clear than this. Maximum bubble territory, sell, seriously sell, FOMO intensifies. Is this a bubble? HODL, still cheap, accumulate, buy, basically fire sell. We had Bitcoin go into a basically fire sell territory when it was 15K. Right now, it is accumulation phase, okay? We left the buy phase. We actually went to accumulation phase and actually dipped slightly in. So this little consolidation here that you see, this consolidation here you see, this was the region. Accumulate, and this is the buy region. We have come into the buy region according to that graph. I'm not saying whether to buy or not. It's up to you if you want to buy or not. Marshall Beard, Chief Strategy Officer at US-based cryptocurrency exchange Gemini, right, believes that Bitcoin to break all-time highs this year, saying 100,000 price figure is an interesting number if Bitcoin gets to this previous record high of near $69,000. Okay, interesting. Okay, let's go through a bit more reasoning. Okay, another smart person, another rich person, I'm guessing, comes around. Paolo Ardoino, Chief Technology Officer at Tether. Okay, Tether's another interesting discussion as well, because, you know, it's not really backed by many dollars, but also has quite an optimistic view on Bitcoin. He says Bitcoin could retest its all-time high near 69,000, and it totally can. Nonetheless, I don't think it'll test. If it's going to go up there, it's going to blast out, I reckon, because the euphoria is going to definitely kick in, I think. Nonetheless, 2023 seems to be a good year for Bitcoin advocates who always consider it as a safe haven investment or digital gold. When they say digital gold, it does embody quite a lot of, I guess, similarities to what gold does, right? Gold has a finite supply. It gets harder and harder the more supply you bring to the marketplace. So the more you mine, there's less supply in there, so it's going to be harder to mine. So by nature, it is sort of worked back. It is a proof of work asset, and so that's why gold has been great. But the thing is, digital gold is better than gold because you don't have to move it all around. Now, how much value do we as humanity attribute to that digital gold? Well, that's going to determine the price of Bitcoin, okay, and the uptake and the adoption of Bitcoin. Which can offer investors a good hedging opportunity for attractive returns in times of mayhem. What does mayhem mean? Mayhem means everything else is crashing. The dollar's crashing. It's all crazy. Bitcoin, which got a major boost in hopes that U.S. financial and banking situation could reduce the chance of aggressive interest hike by the U.S. Federal Reserve. Okay, so we're looking at whether it's going to be whether how they're going to control the inflation rate, and to control this crazy inflation, which went as high as 9.06% U.S. inflation rate. It has been able to control it back down to 4.9. Now, when it was hovering around 5, it was pretty bad news as well, and that's when they started to increase interest rates. It has started to decrease, and so the hikes weren't going to be as violent. When we can't control this is then when we do have to get violent, and those are the Paul Volcker days, right? When the interest rates were hiking very, very, very steeply. Now, can Bitcoin reach 1 million then by 2025? Bitcoin lovers always have too bright and at times impossible predictions for their favorite currency, and that's the case because we're all just such crypto bros, right? Chinese Canadian Bitcoin entrepreneur, CEO of the crypto firm Jan3, Samson Mao, believes that cryptocurrency will reach $1 million in the next 5 years. He's also not the only idiot. I think the twins who they were claiming that they created Facebook. Can't remember their names, but they reckon that they're going to go to 500K to about $1 million. An investor and former technology chief at Coinbase took bet that Bitcoin could reach 10 lakh, which is Indian way of saying it's a million, or even more in mere 90 days. Okay, that's getting a bit crazy. The dollar value will get and this is really interesting. They made a strong statement on the belief that the world goes in the stage of hyperinflation, and that is very likely, guys. It looks like we kind of controlled it, but it's too early to tell. If we relax the measures on the inflation, the interest rate too early, then we may be able to see this inflation rate peak back up again, and we don't want that. And that might be on the road to hyperinflation, which means extreme rapid increase in the price of goods and services over a period of time, or more like the value of the US dollar is decreasing. If the value of the US dollar decreases, if you think about it, items will have to cost more, assets and things will have to cost more. And you know what is a thing? Bitcoin is a thing, okay? And assets, cryptocurrencies are a thing. So what I've got here for you is this video, okay? Have a watch. This is from The Principles of Dealing with a Changing World Order by Ray Dalio. And this is what had happened when the US decided that they're not going to back the dollar on a fixed value asset like gold. Rather, they're just going to let it run and have it be printed however much they like. And that implicated that there was going to be more inflation that's going to come into the market. Have a watch.
Recognizing that the U.S. was going to run out of real money, on Sunday evening, August 15th, President Nixon went on television to tell the world that the U.S. was breaking its promise to let people exchange their dollars for gold. Of course, he didn't say it that way. He said it more diplomatically, without making it clear that the United States was defaulting.
The strength of a nation's currency is based on the strength of that nation's economy. And the American economy is by far the strongest in the world. Accordingly, I have directed the Secretary of the Treasury to take the action necessary to defend the dollar against the speculators. I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States.
I watched in awe, realizing that money as we understood it was ending. What a crisis. I expected the stock market to plunge the next day, so I got on the exchange floor early to prepare. When the opening bell rang, pandemonium broke out, but not the kind I expected. The market was up, way up, and went on to rise nearly 25%. That surprised me, because I never experienced a currency devaluation before. When I dug into history,
Okay, so when currency devalues, assets are going to rise up, which is very interesting. And so that's what this person is, expecting to happen. And if anything is for sure, is that the US dollar has devalued over time. Over the last 100 years, almost 99% of the US currency has devalued. So Bitcoin stacked up against US dollars is actually doing super duper well, right? And so on the other hand, crypto experts like Bitcoin might touch 10 lakh in the upcoming years, but not so soon. And predicting the levels in 2023 or in 90 days is just next to impossible, of course. So then what is the bearish view on this? Okay, will Bitcoin crash again in 2023? Okay, the opposite, the bearish view, Bitcoin and firmly believe that Bitcoin might fall in the near future. They consider this rally as a major bull trap rather than a bull run. Okay, global investor Mark Mobius, the billionaire founder of Mobius Capital Partners, already predicted a huge fall in 2022, and he was right, of course, and said that Bitcoin could even fall to the $10,000 range. Hey, music to my ears, because if we go to that rainbow chart again, not that this is like the answer or anything, then it goes to the 10,000 region, then it's a pretty good fire sale. And likely speaking, it may not get to that level. If you go to Bitcoin over the years, right, we see many corrections happening, and over the years, the types of corrections that Bitcoin goes through is, yes, it is crazy, and it is like it's a lot. It goes through a lot. Now this is a log chart, so it's not as pronounced. But if I did a Cartesian chart, it'd be too hard to tell. So that's a 75% drop. Okay, this here was a 85% drop, right? What else do we have? Okay, this big dip here that we see. Okay, this dip here, that's the Corona beam as well. That's an 82% drop. Do you see a pattern here? That every correction is a pretty big drop. That's a 75% drop. So we may have already bottomed out here, right? There may be the next beam, like such as this one, right? Which is a collective drop of about 80% still. So rest assured, 80% is about the rough amount of correction that's going to come in, and that's fair enough, because when you do a when you analyze a lot of these emerging assets where the market cap ranges all the way between 0 to about $3 trillion all the way up, Apple, when its market cap was a lot lower, would go through many corrections of this much nature. This is no different to any other asset, I feel. So these corrections then give room for the next cycle to bring in a lot of potential to gain lots of money, right? So that's what's really interesting. So if then it goes onto the $10,000 level, then that will be a correction of that will be a correction of, like, in the 10,000 level, 84%. So there's no reason for you to say, oh, that's crazy, that's never going to happen, because it has happened. And in fact, it's quite likely to happen. And in that range is likely the price range that Bitcoin is going to get to, and it arguably has already been to. So similarly, the same is predicted by another maverick investor, Matthew Segal, head of digital assets, global investment manager, see Bitcoin drop to 12,000 levels, citing higher energy prices. Okay, what does that mean? High energy prices, and I don't know, everyone's just going to get really poor, and they're not going to invest into things. I guess that's fair enough, but there's also another argument saying that when the argument before is that that's a safe haven when everything's going to become expensive and inflation is out of control. Now, more of a global bank, Standard Chartered's prediction of Bitcoin is super surprising. They predict that Bitcoin could fall to 5,000 levels in 2023. Hey, if that happens, I'm buying more. Now, experts believe that rising interest rates and tighter monetary policy, right, which is what we're going through right now. Interest rates are rising and there is quantitative tightening, will not allow Bitcoin to rebound sharply in the near future. And I stand on this view. But I am actually overall long-term bullish. I'll explain why and how that works in the same time. In the kind of uncertain market, here we go. Investors will not prefer to invest or buy risky assets. And that's fine. That's fine. When they don't, you do, right? You got to be contrarian. When people don't invest, that's when you do invest, right? Risky assets such as Bitcoin, because those who have been holding Bitcoin, BTC might sell their positions, creating undue pressure on the markets again. So when there's a risk in the marketplace, people don't want to buy risky assets like Bitcoin. They want to buy risk-free assets like less risky assets rather, like your real estate and your gold. Right? When the interest rates are really low, you see like all your tech stocks going like crazy, and when tech stocks went crazy, Bitcoin also went crazy, and so did Doge and all these other meme coins too. Now, how should so this just happened to be written for the Indian audience, but anyway, how should investors approach Bitcoin in 2023 with such uncertainty around? Maybe it is best to observe the Bitcoin moves carefully rather than taking any action, which might lead to severe losses. I disagree with this. Okay, maybe that is appropriate for somebody who knows nothing about Bitcoin, but if you start to learn a thing or two about Bitcoin, and of course, if you want to learn a thing or two about Bitcoin, this is the place for us. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and ring that notification bell, okay? And send this to someone who is completely clueless about Bitcoin, because they got to learn. They got to learn, baby. Okay, so this guy is saying that the CEO of UnoCoin believes that the investor sentiment toward Bitcoin remains mixed. Now, I can't ever think of a time when the sentiment towards Bitcoin was never really mixed. But what is the reason for it being mixed this time around? What is that? The caution in the face of rising interest rates and the strengthening US dollar. Okay, interesting. So let me tell you how the interest rate actually impacts Bitcoin and investment that we make in Bitcoin.
Let me ask you, do you think the bottom's in for Bitcoin?
It's hard to say, because it's all to do with the Federal Reserve. Whenever they U-turn, that's when the bottom's going to be in.
What do you mean U-turn?
When they go from rising rates to stop rising rates to cutting rates.
That's exactly what we want to see, right? That's when all the money's going to come out, the liquidity is going to come out. Bang, that's what we want to see. Where do you think the bottom price is for Bitcoin?
It's hard to say.
Give us a range. Come on, give us a range.
Anywhere between 15K to the current bottom at 17,500.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so there you have it, guys. There you have it. So that's how much, and that was back last year that we made that interview, that we did that interaction. So it's just do a bit of research and you can come to your own conclusion quite easily. I feel it's not that hard. So there's no doubt that there is a lot of impact on the actual price itself by the interest rate. So it's important that you study interest rates and how that impacts asset prices. Okay, so we're waiting for it. We believe that because the inflation, I guess, is beginning to look like it's being controlled, that if it's not going to go out of control and we've actually done enough cuts, then we might have to increase the interest rate as aggressively as we once used to. But I would probably need to see that inflation rate go a little bit lower than that to actually start to feel a bit more relaxed and to actually expect the interest rate to begin to reduce. And that's when it's going to be, when Bitcoin is going to be on fire and on the bull market it goes. So we feel that the Bitcoin will remain a popular investment choice as its underlying technology continues to attract interest from various industries. That's correct. It is completely unregulated, so you can receive investments and people can buy Bitcoin from all over the world, not just the US people, the Chinese and the Australians, literally all over the world. Even some of the countries that are unbanked, meaning people without bank accounts, can invest in Bitcoin as well. And that's what El Salvador was making a big move towards about a year ago. Any market, the future direction of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies is difficult to predict. Of course it is. However, the impact of rising interest rates and inflation concerns will remain significant factors to watch in the coming months, as we watched in the interview with Crypto World Josh. Now, so the founder of Sea of Taxno stated that the crypto investors should make informed investment decisions. I could not agree with that enough. Investors need to formulate an investment strategy according to their investment goals, based on their investment goals and targeted returns. A pre-decided weight must be allocated to crypto as asset class. Guys, what do I say time and time again on my channel? We have seen Bitcoin correct itself like over the last many bull and bear cycles, and we've seen that it corrects 75%, 85%, 82%, 80%, and 78% in this time around. That means it is quite typical of asset classes like this. Like Bitcoin is not a very well-known asset class. You probably need to, you know, I mean, even Apple is one of the biggest market cap companies in the world. Even with its crazy market cap, we still have scratched our heads over its future movements. But you know, it's pretty much set in stone that Apple's going to do quite well over the coming decades, right? And that's why, you know, guys like Warren Buffett, they chuck their money in. But it is quite typical of, I guess, unknown assets like Bitcoin to go through these massive corrections of 80% over time. And we've seen that happen over and over again. And we've seen it the same time around as well. We were speaking, when I was making videos around about this level here where my mouse is, we were saying that, hey, maybe we don't know how far it will go down. So then maybe if it doesn't go for as far as 80% or 82%, when it's corrected 60%, maybe we can dip in or punch in some amount of money at every 5% dips from there onwards. So at 50%, 55%, 60%, 70, 75, and 80%, we would start to dollar cost average down. And you'll start to do that as with small amounts of money that you can afford to lose, of course. And that's an example of an investment strategy. And because cryptocurrency moves up quite significantly, you don't have to have a lot of money in there to actually start seeing some pretty good returns. So protect your capital base. Investors should not invest huge chunks of their savings. Instead, put a small amount periodically. Could not agree with that anymore. However, on the contrary, certain market experts have full faith in Bitcoin and expect to rise again. Chief Operating Officer of ZPay seems quite bullish on Bitcoin. He said the fundamentals of Bitcoin remain rock solid irrespective of the market conditions. He further gave an example of one researcher of the market intelligence from Glassnodes, which is this is an on-chain data analysis company that stated close to 60% of circulating Bitcoin has not yet moved in 2020. So it's got a lot of hodlers. There's a great culture of hodling in Bitcoin. And long-term investors are still very bullish on Bitcoin. 60% in the worst market ever, all right, for Bitcoin have held onto Bitcoin. That's very significant. That's very significant. That there is lacking supply out there, that because of it, there's going to be increase in capital value of Bitcoin. Bitcoin can rise again, but here's the thing. Does this now mean that this guy is putting 100% of their wealth in there? No, absolutely not. Even with having this much faith in Bitcoin, you still need an investment strategy. You need to allocate an appropriate amount of your portfolio into Bitcoin, not a crazy amount, but an appropriate amount. That's just sound investment, I guess, approach. Bitcoin can rise again in 2023, provided there are no macroeconomic headwinds. Massive, provided that there are such, because you don't know what the Feds are going to do. But that's why we do DCA, because we don't know if the Feds are going to cut rates early on. Then there's going to be a big bull run that's going to come through. So because we don't know that, it's better that when we see a good sale, in Bitcoin right now in the rainbow cycle, we're in the buy territory, right? Then maybe there is something to be said about that if that actually applied to Bitcoin over the last, over the last 13, 14 years, all right? What other better data do we have than to rely on that, of course? He feels that crypto traders and investors should research extensively on the fundamentals and technicalities of an asset before taking a buy or sell position, of course. But using a systematic investment plan is more important. Like, there's mixed thoughts out there. People don't invest knowing that it's definitely going to go up or it's definitely going to go down, or sell knowing that it's going to definitely go down. But they only apply an investment plan, a strategy in there. And a good strategy is, like I talked about, at certain increments, whether it's by price or by period of time, you're just buying little bits of Bitcoin as you go along. Approaching Bitcoin can help investors hedge against market volatility. And of course, Bitcoin, which is known for its resilient nature, carries a huge capacity for its comeback. So overall, that is the outlook. But what does that mean for your strategy? We got to make a decision on that. Of course, this is the channel to do it in, guys. If you haven't done so, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and ring that notification bell, guys. If you like to invest in Bitcoin, well, there are many ways to do it. There are centralized exchanges, very good ones like BitGet and, of course, Pionex. Go link in the description below so that you can sign up to using my affiliate links. That way, you'll be able to have some benefits coming your way by way of bonuses and, of course, with transaction fees. So if you'd like to hold Bitcoin on a cold wallet, meaning that you hold the actual Bitcoin on the blockchain itself, go get yourself a cold wallet. Go get yourself a Ledger Nano X, which I've done a tutorial video about. Links are all available in the description below. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Do some research. Send this video to somebody who knows nothing about Bitcoin, because it's very, very interesting stuff. Very, very exciting times we're living in right now.